Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the justBernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the justBernard Show here on Revolution Radio. We are so happy that you are joining us today. We do have a very special guest joining us in just a few moments. But before we bring her on to the show, let me welcome our assistant producer, Treva Knott, is joining me live from Winnipeg, Manitoba. How are you this week, Treva?
Hello. I'm doing very well. How about you?
All right, very good. I'm glad. That's great. I'm doing okay. It's been a crazy week. It's been a very busy, everything's busy type of week, and we'll see what this week ahead has to bring to us. Anyway, everybody, I just wanted to let you know that, we just lost our guest. Where did she go? Is this how my week is going to start? Hold on one second. I just want to make sure we get her back on.
Aloha.
Okay, we lost you there for a second. Well, I'm going to bring you to the show in just a moment, okay?
Okay, sure.
Very good. Anyway, as I was saying before we lost our guest, I wanted to let everybody know that we're starting a new month at G.I.C, and I'm very happy to say that this is going to be our 6th-year anniversary month. I can't believe that the G.I.C organization is going to be turning 6 years old. I believe it's September 28th. I think I was telling everybody September 30th. But the Global Illumination Council itself will be turning 6 years old this year. I can't believe it. If you're interested in learning of any of our past work that we've done over the years, please, by all means, go and visit the website, thegic.org. We must have, 1,000 interviews by now in the archives, it feels like. How many weeks is 6 years? Well, maybe about 500 interviews. But if you'd like to see some of our past interviews and our presentations, we've got about 400 videos on our YouTube channel. So we have 6 years of information aiding the empowerment of humanity available for free if you would like to go check it out. And I'm very happy to say we are just beginning. It's been 6 years and we are just beginning. Anyway, again, if you'd like to learn more about that, please go to thegic.org and you can find all of our past videos, archives, articles, and whatnot. There's plenty of information there. If I'm not mistaken, the website has approximately 60,000 pages of members and information, so there's a lot to look at. Anyway, so without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about my guest. As soon as I switch this, excuse me 1 second. I had forgotten that I was on Facebook too, and it messed me up here. Anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about our guest today. Sonja Kalckar is a medical, intuitive, and spiritual guide with credentials in holistic health, nutrition, North American herbology, enzyme-therapy, and neuro-muscular and Vini Yoga therapy. Sonia is also the creator of a modality called Spinal Geometry Systems. The system is based on maintaining the Lordadic or C curve of the neck and low back, as well as posture alignment techniques. That sounds like something I would like. Anyway, so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Sonja Kalckar to the show. Hello, Sonia. Aloha.
Hi, aloha. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
We're very happy that you were able to join us this morning. It's pretty early for you, isn't it?
Yeah, normally I'm up and kind of meditating and doing my yoga, so I had to switch gears or shift gears a little bit this morning. But yeah, it's been an interesting morning.
Okay, great. What part of Hawaii are you in, Sonia?
I'm on the windward side of the Big Island, not too far from Waipio Valley. Yeah, this is the biggest island in the Hawaiian chain, and it's the most southern island. And yeah, we just actually came through a hurricane, which is really very unusual because we don't normally get anything like that here because we have these amazingly beautiful, majestic, powerful mountains that kind of block the any kind of major weather. One of the mountains is about 14,000 feet.
Oh wow, that's a big mountain.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
So I was going to say you must be very close to Kathy Bilski. Have you had an opportunity to go visit her shop and meet her?
Oh yeah, yes. I've visited her shop and many times and know her and actually have done some work with her and some of the work that I do, which you mentioned, which people can find out more about if they're interested on my website, sonia.net. Different herbal remedies, exercises for people that have spinal conditions, all of that. I've worked with a lot of people that have had scoliosis, reverse curve, different things that are going on in their physical structure that they don't quite have, an idea of what to do. And I have some amazing tools and exercises and expertise in many of those areas.
Oh, good. Well, we'll get more into more detail about those on the show coming up. But as we get started, Sonia, why don't you could you please share with myself and our listeners a little bit about your background? What drew you to the kind of work that you're doing? Was there a specific moment, or did it just kind of gradually happen? What was it like for you to get involved in spiritual work?
Well, I was going to say, Bernard, there's a couple different types of work that I have been immersed in and integrated. It's kind of scientific, spiritual, mind, body, spirit. So should I start with the spiritual aspect of that journey or?
Whatever came first.
Okay. Now I'll see if I know how to make this short. Just attempt to do that. As far as my spiritual work, it actually started when I was 19, when I was living in Colorado. I have a small amount of Native American blood, and then I have Mediterranean and Celtic. I'm kind of a mix, And anyhow, I had always wanted to spend time with a medicine man, and I'd had dreams of that for years. And I was led down to northern New Mexico after having these dreams for many months, the same dream where I walk into this sort of Kiva type setting and I connect with this man, almost like somebody I'd known before in another life, because I do believe that we've been here before, So anyhow, I went down to Colorado, and after a number of months of having these dreams, northern New Mexico from Colorado, I came upon a medicine man down there who was spending time in a particular community, and he knew that he was supposed to work with me. He knew that who I had been before, because I guess I've done this medicine woman, spiritual teacher, guide thing numerous times on this planet. I feel like I'm an old soul, like when they talk about old souls and people that seem like they've done their rounds on Earth many, many times. You kind of get a feel for those people. They have a sense of seasoned wisdom, and things just kind of come through them. I mean, sometimes you want, is this really who I am? What's going on? But anyhow, so I proceeded to work with this man, Joe Sundell. Actually we called him Sunhawk. He is Apache, Navajo, Hopi Indian, and I worked with him over a period of 5 years, and that set the tone and changed my life, Bernard, especially the last year when they allowed me to come on to a certain place on the reservation and honored me for the work that I had done, because it's like being in the army, you know. I mean,
Right.
some of the stuff that I endured and went through was pretty intense. It was like an initiation.
Right.
And it, excuse me, it literally shaped the rest of my life. They talked about when you hear the word building your will and building strength and your willpower, had I not gone through what I did with Sunhawk, I wouldn't have had the strength to get through many of the different, you know, things I went through in my life. So, and some of what I did with him was ceremony and prayer and working with the native people there, but we focused on different issues every time we were in the teepee or in the lodge or whatever we were doing. And, you know, basically up from sundown, staying up from, you know, sundown to sun up, you know. So that's what started it. And then from there I started working with different spiritual teachers, yoga teachers, and people like that all over the U.S. So.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
You have quite a repertoire of experiences.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yes.
Now, when did you begin working with the public and offering your services to the public?
Boy, that's an interesting question. I actually, okay, you mean the services as an intuitive or a spiritual God?
Correct.
Well, let's see. Technically, then I trained and worked actually at the Berkeley Psychic Institute in Berkeley, California. So I trained there in my 20s, not too long after I completed working my stint with Sunhawk on and off for 5 years. Every other year I was with him. So after I went through a stint at the Berkeley Psychic Institute, and then later I went back to school and got a degree in holistic health in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I would say it was in my late 20s I started doing everything from spiritual intuitive readings, not just medical intuitive, but spiritual intuitive readings, past life clearing, and then I started, you know, going more into physical, structural, holistic health, nutrition types of work one-on-one. So I was in my late 20s, I'd say. Yeah, when I started really full on going for it.
And how was the you know, I always talk about the transformation or the awakening. It's always very different for people, and what I'm finding, and so what I have found, especially with everyone that we have on the show, most people, that transition is usually a little bit rocky. I can't help but notice that so many of us that are doing this type of work always seem to face some kind of, I don't want to say adversity, well, adversity within our lives. Was it smooth sailing for you, or were you one of us who had to have those experiences to kind of, I guess, push us on this path, for lack of a better term?
I was definitely meant to be on this path because of everything that came my way. But I'm sure you've heard of what they call the Saturn return. Mm-hmm. People note that between 28 and 29 and 30, I definitely went through a bumpy Saturn return.
Okay.
My inner and outer worlds were kind of turned upside down. And it just feels like because of who I am or who I was, I had some pretty intense initiation. Right. Once I got into the year of 30, things got a little bit smoother for me, Bernard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a couple years before that was pretty intense and overwhelming. Yeah.
Wow, it's funny how, like I said, it seems that many of us have to go through. I guess you can call it a form of initiation, like a universal initiation. And it's, I think it's very fair to say that many of us go through these quote unquote traumatic experiences as a way of healing more than, you know, as we're going through it. Of course, we think it's punishment, but I really feel it leads us to a form of healing. Yeah. Do you Tell me a little bit about the Soul's Blueprint. We're calling today's show the Soul's Blueprint, and I'm very interested in what you mean by the Soul's Blueprint.
Okay, yeah, because there's a number of different areas that I work with in my life and in the type of work I do, so I can go into that one if you wish. For me, it was, I can just say personally, and then when I've worked with people one-on-one, I feel like a lot of it has to do with your mission and your purpose here on Earth as a soul, discovering not only maybe who you've been so you can figure out who you are now. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because I feel like it's a cumulative effort. It's like many chapters of who we've been before make who we are now. And then discovering, okay, a lot of it for me had to do with waking up and remembering what I call this is some of the things I've written about. I don't actually have technically a book out there, but just a lot of journaling. But my divine inheritance or my divine remembrance of who I am as a divine being and a divine soul, and then what I am wanting or needing to do in this lifetime, not just on the earthly level, like make a living, raise a family. I mean, yeah, that's a piece that's right. Important. But who and what am I, and what is my mission for my soul on a higher level? You know, getting my work out to the world, going to Tibet and helping the Tibetan people, doing something for humanity, you know, raising an indigo child, or, you know, whatever it is. I mean, I'm just being a little funny here, but it's sometimes it takes a while to figure out who we are in terms of our spiritual identity and our deeper spiritual path. Yeah. So, does that make sense to you?
Yes. And what you're saying is, in reference to my question, that the Soul's Blueprint is kind of what we're already integrated with, where you're trying to help us bring out to the surface?
Well, the Soul Blueprint, for me, that work elicits finding who we are, our deeper spiritual or soul identity, and what the purpose is this particular lifetime. And sometimes it might just be to discover, wow, I'm really a musician and I want to go for it, or I'm an artist, and this is what takes me to the highest level of, you know, divine connectedness, or how would I put this? It's like, what is it that brings us into harmony and unison with who we are as a soul, that makes us, allows us to feel very, you know, the closest to our higher self, right. To God and our soul's spiritual expression.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense or not. And sometimes, so sometimes there's a lot of layers and clearing that we have to do, because I feel, Bernard, sometimes there's like the earthly identity and then the spiritual identity, and sometimes they are one and the same, but many times they're not, you know?
Very much so, yeah. I find they can be, in many cases, they're quite in conflict with each other. You know, we're brought up to believe a certain way of living. We're believed to believe in, you know, success and titles and certificates and, you know, treasures and awards. And meanwhile, while we're busy being busy, we're ignoring what our heart is telling us or what our higher self is telling us. And I happen to be one of those people that went through that. I didn't come into this work professionally until my late 30s, and it was another awakening for me to say, boy, I did my earthly, how shall we say, my earthly agreement, and now I'm done. It's time to move on and do the work that I was intended to do while I'm here. Do you find that many of your clients or your friends or whatnot have had similar experiences that they awaken one day, and it's like I'm not meant to be an architect, you know.
Yeah, no, I do. I was going to ask you quickly if it's okay. What your doctorate is in, or
it's an online metaphysical certificate, a Doctor of Metaphysics.
Wow!
I actually had gone to college to become to get a philosophy PhD. And after years of studying philosophy, my philosophy teacher said to me, he said, "You're better off getting an online certification because you'll spend more money than you will ever make once you get it."
Wow.
He said, "Don't waste your time." I wanted to actually, my goal was, I had actually gone to college late, and I went back to college in my late 20s, and my goal was to become a professor of metaphysics and teach in the college system, university system. And just everyone, all the teachers, all the professors, they're like, don't bother, don't bother, don't bother. You'll work 3 times as long and you'll make as much money as you are now. So,
wow. Gosh, interesting.
Yeah, they said, just go online and get certified. I'm like, that's what I did. I went online and got certified.
Wow. That sounds like when I went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute, although it's a little bit different. But, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I went to Florida International University, and I went to the Miami-Dade New World School of the Arts, and both of them were like, nah, don't bother.
Interesting. Yeah. And sometimes we just need to go to some of these schools, and then we kind of create our own format or our own system, which might be completely different, you know?
Absolutely.
The way that we,
Absolutely. You know, I will say the best thing for me going to having formal education, it basically taught me how to write. I think that was the most important. I loved English. I was an honors student, and even in college for English. So I really enjoyed writing, which helped me write my book, of course, and I love blogging and whatnot. So that helped me, you know, give me the outline. But as far as everything else, even my philosophy teacher was like, you're ahead of me in your philosophical thinking. He had me argue with him on what is God. And unfortunately, he was arguing with me. I mean, you know, we were doing a formal debate. He was using all the empirical knowledge of the past philosophers versus what he thought. So his rebuttal was always like, oh, well, you know, Descartes said this, or Socrates said this. I'm like, yeah, but what about you? What do you think God is? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So.
Very good. So I forgot. I know I asked you something before we got off on this tangent. Well, actually, let's throw that out there. I think this would make a very good question. Is what is your idea of divinity or the higher self? What is kind of your feeling of connection with the divine? Do you feel that we are all capable of reaching that state of connecting with our higher self to find our true meaning?
Yeah, I feel that I see us as all drops of water in a big, you know, big pond or in a big ocean, just droplets of divinity that are trying to remember who we are and who we were. And sometimes I feel like there's been almost a conspiracy on some strange level that we needed to fall asleep so we could wake up and remember again.
Yeah.
I mean, some people come in, you know, even as children, fully awake and attuned to who they are. And then others come in and don't have a clue, or they have to go through the school of hard knocks and, you know, go through quite a bit to feel worthy, to feel deserving. I think there's something about self-love, self-worth, self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And after having worked with a number of spiritual teachers, Bernard, one of whom I lived with at one point for a while, it's a little personal, but he was, you know, from another part of the world, and it was quite an amazing experience just to be around somebody who was that attuned.
Right.
Of course, I've been around Amaji, you know, some of the different, you know, people like Yogi Bhajan and other spiritual teachers, and it's interesting. They all, they have different things to say verbally, but really, to me, it's a vibration. It's what's in your heart. Yeah. It's what gets activated and what gets triggered to get you there. I mean, some people, I've done a lot of time with swimming with dolphins and whales, living in the islands and spending time with wildlife. And I would say, when I think of some of the experiences that I've had with dolphins and particularly whales, it's like being right in the presence of God, like reminding me of being next to a great spiritual teacher. Mm-hmm. And they're amazing beings. They're very, very intelligent and very, very evolved. So anyhow, there's different things that can elicit that,
I like what you're saying about the teachers and how it's not what's being said, it's the vibration that's being emitted. And I couldn't agree more. One of the most important things that I try to get across in all the work that we do here at the G.I.C. and from myself is that we cannot take words so literally, even if they're spiritual words. We get lost in the concept and we're not allowing ourselves to feel. As a matter of fact, in the beginning of my book, I say, read this book as a feeling, not using your intellect. Don't look at the words, feel the words. It's very important for me that people understand that, it's by experience that we connect with our higher self and the divine, not through, pretty words, so to speak.
Yeah, and I have a really unique CD. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it.
No, I didn't. Darn.
Oh, that's okay. Well, anyhow, if it's okay at some point, I'll let people know the YouTube and
of course.
my website, because you can hear some of that CD on my on the YouTube and see the visuals, and you can also hear it on my website. And I also have DVDs that share information. If I get a chance to talk about a little bit about the structural work I do, because the structural work and the breathing and the meditation take a lot of people to that place, because there are times you have to have tools in order to turn off or quiet the mind and the nervous system. Yeah. And so that CD really does it for a lot of people. And the system that I invented.
Sonia, we're going on break. We're a little bit early, so we'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. All right.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We are having a wonderful conversation today with Sonja Kalckar, and she is a energy healer, among other things, and she's joining us live today from Hawaii. Welcome back, Sonja. Are you there?
I think I'm here.
Alrighty, you're here.
I'm here. I'm just being funny. Sorry.
Anyway, no, please. We love a little giggle here and there. Absolutely. Thank you. I wanted to ask you. You were talking. Actually, no, we haven't talked about this yet. You do a lot of work with herbs and supplements to detox from environmental pollution. Example, like, the chemtrails and radiation and whatnot. And that's a very big concern for many of our listeners, actually, in today's world. Can you tell us a little bit how the chemtrails and radiation are affecting us, and what can we do to get that stuff out of our system?
Yeah, well, I have a piece of paper here. Let me look at this, because I had written a few notes. Initially, the most critical area in our endocrine system is the thyroid. You probably know that already, or many of you do. So finding ways of protecting the thyroid are really important. There actually is a man and actually it's something that maybe people, or you'd have to contact me about later, but there's a man that has this somewhat, I want to say, organic or very special type of iodine that's assimilated into the body very well, and it's a source that he gets from somewhere outside of the U.S., and I've been using it. It's a sort of, I guess you'd say, organic iodine that you can actually rub on the front of the throat and also take internally. That's one thing that's pretty important right now, because that gland is more vulnerable and closer to, our sort of, I want to say the way it's put in our body structurally, it's more exposed.
Right.
So iodine is really important. I have here CoQ10. I work with that. That's a heavy-duty antioxidant, really great for, of course, the heart muscle. It also helps gum tissue. It's just a really great antioxidant. Turmeric powder, we use a lot here in Hawaii. I grow a lot of turmeric on my farm here, and other different types of what I call medicinal herbs or medicinal foods. Turmeric is a really great antioxidant. It's also great for circulation, antiviral, antibacterial.
Can I ask you a question about the turmeric, Sonia?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
How much, now I'm a big turmeric guy, but I get a little bit crazy with it. How much do we need to put, I like to put it in a lot of my food. I love to make curries and whatnot. Is there like a certain amount that would be, do you know anything about like dosage? What would be too much? What would be enough? What would be enough? Because I feel I get a little crazy with it.
Well, because this is just my opinion.
Yeah, just your
opinion. Like I said, I have background in holistic health and nutrition and herbology. I don't know if you can overdo turmeric. I think well, let me put it this way. I think you would know, Bernard, because you would be up late at night, because it's there's a word for it. I can't think of the technical word, but like ginger, it's a stimulant.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, some people build up to it. Like I'm at a point where I can overdo it. I can do a few teaspoons a day, but it's something that you want to start with slowly. It actually does a lot for circulation and some of the other things I mentioned, but it's really good for the adrenals. And I think if you're comfortable with the amount you're taking, you're probably fine. All I know is if you do it all day long, you're probably going to be in the bathroom and you're probably going to be kind of hyper, Right. I just make sort of a hot, either like a soup or a tea out of it with a little bit of raw honey. I think raw honey is really important because of all the enzymes and nutrition that honey has. But I think you're probably fine. I would once in a while put some ginger in there, and just do it as a soup or a tea. Like I said, it works with the adrenals a lot too. It does a lot of things. Really good for circulation. It's actually really good for cholesterol and plaque, believe it or not.
As a matter of fact, I am a living, what do you call it? A living guinea pig for that. A few years ago, I had very high cholesterol. I was borderline, heart attack level.
Oh,
and,
geez.
Ever since I started, I started changing my diet. But when I took I've been doing turmeric now since the beginning of the year. I actually bought the turmeric for my cat because my cat had cancer, and I think we're past it. But I was giving her the turmeric, and I'm like, you know what? They use this in curry. I'm going to start making curries and taking the turmeric for myself. And I got the whole blood panel done, and my cholesterol is fantastic. So,
are you in your 50s or 40s?
I'm in my late 40s. I'm 47.
Okay. Yeah, because normally when I think about cholesterol, I guess I think about people in their 50s. So 47, that's good that you're starting now on that.
Yeah. Well, actually, in my 30s, my cholesterol was high. It was actually high.
Some of it can be genetic, too, Bernard. It can be a couple of different things. But there are other things you can take for cholesterol as well, lecithin, and there's sort of a nice little package. One of these days I can talk to you more about it. There's a few things you can do. And then, of course, working with things like cutting back on eggs, especially, even if they're organic. People that do tons of eggs, that's where there's lots of cholesterol unless you throw away the yolk. You know about the yolk, right?
Yeah, well, I love the egg. I hate to say it. I really love my eggs.
I know.
That's probably why I'm attracted to eating so much turmeric, because
Well, just minimize. Once in a while, you have to throw that yolk away.
Yeah, well, I will say this. I've gone from, I used to have eggs every morning for breakfast, and now I'm down to maybe once or twice a week, and I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I wanted to say is that CoQ10, along with pycnogenol, because like I said, I work with quite a few clients on the phone and in person, and I put together these recipes for them. But that combination is very good for keeping your arteries clean, CoQ10 and pycnogenol. So that's my gift to you guys today. Yeah, and also there's some superfoods too. We don't have time to get into all of them, but some of the grasses, like kamut grass and barley grass, there are different grasses that are superfoods that do amazing things, different, chlorophyll in the body, cleaning the blood, keeping your pH, your blood pH alkaline is really, really important, So most people, just a quick little piece here is that if you keep your pH, even the people that are O negative or O positive, and we have to be a little more careful with pH and stuff, but you cannot really get cancer and you cannot really get ill, at least from what I know, if your blood is, I think it was at 7.4, somewhere right around there. So it's important to do things on a daily basis that keep your blood and your
more
alkaline as opposed to acidic. Yeah.
Now,
so
I'm very curious, Sonia, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. You said there's a little difference for O positive and O negative, and I'm curious because I'm O positive. What is the difference for those of us with the O blood type?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me qualify that. I'm so okay. O negative and O positive. Okay, actually, I should differentiate between the O's and the A's and the ABs. What I should say is that in general, O blood types, at least in the GI area, because your gastrointestinal area needs to be more acidic, and then your blood pH needs to be more alkaline, okay? So those are two different things. So the O's have to be a little more careful with what's called an overgrowth of candida. Like everybody has candida and different kinds of bacteria floating around. It's when it gets out of balance and out of proportion. And so O's can be a little more susceptible to getting out of balance with things like maybe candida or certain kinds of funguses and molds. I don't know this across the board. I'm not a complete expert, but I'm just knowing that when people do fasting and different kinds of diets, they do want to do the alkaline, but you can overdo it to where your gut becomes too alkaline. And when that happens, you're more prone to candida, and then you really have to get into doing tons of acidophilus. So in other words, we're a little more susceptible. We can do all this alkaline stuff. We just can't go so crazy that it changes the actual pH of the gut. And I actually know a few people that did do that from cleansing and fasting where, yes, we want to be alkaline, and yes, you can overdo it, and yes, O blood types are a little more susceptible. And then getting back, so that's one piece there. And then as far as O positive and O negative, this is something I heard, and I haven't done the research, but I happen to be an O negative. So, and I know other people that are, and I was told that O negative is the most ancient of all the blood types.
Wow.
It's like the original sort of primal, how would I say, the original race on Earth. And it's only maybe about 7% of the population.
Oh, wow.
We're special.
Yes, you are.
And I'm an O negative, yeah.
Same here.
Oh, you're O negative too. Wonderful. Well, now we know if we ever need a transfusion. No.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the chlorophyll and the greens. One of the things you can do in the morning is things like, lemon juice in water, in honey. A lot of people do that. It's a good thing in terms of setting the tone for the day because it gets you right into sort of, cleaning the system out, and also it's very alkalizing. Even though we think of lemon as being acidic, but when it actually goes into the body, there's a whole biochemical thing that happens that makes it alkaline. And things like, some of the different superfoods, chlorella is really good for heavy metals, and pulling those out. We were talking about chemtrails, right? I'm just trying to get back to this theme. Heavy metals, chlorella, let's see. I took some notes here. Okay, spirulina is really good for RNA and DNA repair. Kamut and barley grass are more of the grasses as opposed to the algae. Now, some people do better with the grasses, and some people are okay with the algae. If you have a tendency to have problems with funguses, molds, candida overgrowth, this is just my research because, I have training and background over years with, naturopathic doctors, which is a lot of my background in the past. And I feel that what I've noticed is that when people do too many of those, like blue-green algae, I think can be really, I guess I'm taking a chance saying this, but I've seen people that have really overdone that and had lots of problems later with candida and leaky gut syndrome. So if you're not sure and you have a tendency towards, funguses and overgrowth of candida, I would stick more with the grasses like kamut and barley, and, not overdo those either. But
right.
But anyways, like the chlorella is great for heavy metals in taking it in a reasonable amount, not getting too crazy with it. I have noticed when I travel and I'm in cities that, and I had a friend who's a biochemist, and he was letting me know that each of these algae seem to have specific purposes or designed for different things. And I did notice that the chlorella made a big difference in terms of, we're talking about detoxing chemtrails and radiation. I really noticed a difference taking that when I was around all that stuff. And then the spirulina more for RNA and DNA repair. And you can, of course, go online and do your own research and add to that. But I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of a smattering of everything,
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah.
Now,
there's also... Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a question for those of us, as I think I might fall into this category, who over-alkalized. Mm-hmm. And now I find that in the last year, I have to take probiotics, or I'm in a bad way. And I never had to before. But I can't help but think, putting the pieces together here, that I started doing the alkaline therapy, quote, whatever, the routine, my daily alkaline routine, and then all of a sudden I was having severe stomach problems, and now I have to balance that with probiotics. Is there a way to reverse that?
Okay, you and I should do a session together one of these days.
Okay.
No, I didn't mean it like that, but I mean I can tell you that it's more than just over alkalizing. Some people, there's many people, especially because of all the hybrid stuff with the wheat, corn, and soy. There's a lot of what GMOs are, okay?
Yeah.
So here in the States, there's been so much of this genetically modified organism stuff since the 40s that I have been very strict about not doing anything unless it's non-GMO, because what a lot of that has led to, Bernard, and anybody that's listening that may have interesting stuff going on with their GI or gastrointestinal area, is something called leaky gut syndrome, where there's permeability in the actual, I don't want to get too technical here, but it's permeability in the intestinal tract. There's things that are sort of leaking in between the intestinal tract and the actual whole gut area. And some of that has been because of years of improper eating and diet,
right,
and also eating a lot of wheat and maybe corn and soy that is GMO stuff. And I am I discovered that I was gluten intolerant. I mean, I can handle a little bit of it, but when I went off gluten, my whole life changed. And when I started getting strict about the GMO stuff, everything got better. You know, I mean, it was amazing. In Europe, I can go, because I'm originally, you know, my father is European, my mother's American. But when I was in Europe, I was able to actually eat the wheat over there. I can't eat it over here in the U.S. Not. It's a different type of wheat. It hasn't been messed with. It hasn't been GMO'd to death. You know.
It's right.
Yeah. So there are people that actually have this sort of leaky gut thing and other kinds of GI gut stuff. I think because of gluten and genetically modified stuff, and I think in general, I'm seeing more and more of my friends and people and you know, colleagues and stuff in the field, everybody's becoming either gluten-free or getting very strict about not doing GMO, you know, being careful not to do GMO stuff, you know, foods out there. That's just my opinion, you know.
Right. And if I can to throw this into the mix, because I kind of have a light bulb moment here when you're talking about GMO, especially corn. When we have, what is it? 80% of the corn in the United States is GMO, or BT corn in particular. And if I'm not mistaken, the BT gene is to burst the stomach of the insect, and I can see how, if we're ingesting that BT corn, how we could get something like leaky gut.
Oh my God, it's incredible. The only corn that I eat, and of course this is all just my opinion. I mean, I do a lot of study and research, and I have friends that are biochemists, so sometimes I ask them. But I kind of figured this one out on my own. If I am going to do corn, I only do blue corn, but it's kind of some of it's a Native American thing, and some of it is just that I feel blue corn is one of the cleanest corns, and normally it hasn't been GMO'd to death.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, and there are other kinds of corns. I mean, there's blue corn, red corn, and white corn. I mean, after spending time in the Southwest, which is an amazing place for corn, you just want to check out, is this gluten? This is just me. Now I'm talking about me. Is it gluten-free, and is it non-GMO? And if it's either of those, then yes, maybe I'll give it a try, you know?
Oh, that's very good to know. Wonderful.
Yeah. And there are different things you can do also for leaky gut syndrome, but that's a whole other, you know, I mean, people that are interested, they, you know, whether it's you or someone else, I'm happy to work with you one-on-one on the phone, because this is what I do. Wonderful. I do a lot of work long distance, and there's an awful lot of people out there that need help with gut stuff. I'm sure.
And with that being said, we have about 3 or 4 minutes left on this segment, Sonia. So why don't you tell us a little bit of how they can contact you, and what kind of work will you be able to do with them?
Okay, all right. And then remind me, there's one other thing I want to talk about. Radiation baths and things you can do in the bathtub. Okay, so yes, thank you for letting me broadcast a little bit about who I am and what I do. I work with people on the phone, doing everything from spiritual, medical, intuitive work, ancestral clearings. I work with people. I'm hoping to share that today. I do different kinds of chakra balancing work. But as far as sort of the more medical, physical, structural work, if you go to my website, which is www.soneya, S as in Sam, O-N-E-Y-A. So again, it's Soneya, SONEYA.net. There are phone numbers there. I mean, I could give mine out, but I think you'll find them on the site at soneya.net. And I do work with a number of people, you know, between here and we call it the mainland, all over the U.S. and sometimes even outside of the U.S., where I put programs together for them. I can look at them on a intuitive level, kind of like how you do with your readings, Bernard, and, you know, look at their gut or look at their liver or, I do work with guides, and then I also have some abilities in terms of clairvoyance, clairaudience.
Okay,
well.
we're coming up on our break, and when we return, we're going to continue our conversation with Sonia.
Okay.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
Welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We're having a great conversation today with Sonja Kalckar, but I want to ask you all, everyone who's listening, we have so much in our lives that we want to make the world a better place. We're told that we need to recycle, we need to buy less or throw away less, and I know I have a hard time. Even doing what I do get to. I guess I'm lucky because I get to talk to all these wonderful guests that come on the show that give me all these wonderful little pointers. But when it comes down to, let's say, like downgrading our waste or downgrading our electrical consumption or whatnot, that can be a little bit difficult. But I just want to let you all know that next week I have Madeline Somerville is coming on the Just Bernard Show here, and she is the author of All You Need Is Less, the eco-friendly guide to guilt-free green living and stress-free simplicity. And that's what I'm always looking for, stress-free simplicity, because there's just so much information and education that needs to be done within our lives for us to live so-called green. And I don't mean green like Al Gore green. I mean like real green, not using mercury light bulbs, using LED light bulbs, or, what plastics are biodegradable and things like that. And I know it's really difficult for many of us. And, quite honestly, even in my own life, I've given up on certain things. It just becomes way too much in today's world with all the things that we have to focus on. So I think that having Madeline Somerville on next week is going to be very helpful to everybody listening. So make sure to tune in. But for today, we're very lucky to have Sonja Kalckar joining us live from Hawaii and sticking around for the whole show. Thank you, Sonia. Welcome back.
Yeah, if it's okay, I just wanted to finish a little bit about what I do with people.
Yes,
because
please.
I got cut off, and
Yeah.
I'll try to be quick.
Please do.
Yes, so Sonia.net is my website. There is a TV show at the bottom of the homepage, which explains a little bit more about the structural work that I do, working with people that have scoliosis, have lost curvature in their spine or reverse curve. And then I also do the nutritional work. That's, again, Sonia.net. And I have an interesting YouTube because I've produced a couple of DVDs that people can buy that actually show people how to work with breathing. I've worked a lot with asthmatics, people with respiratory problems, and I have a really high-tech breathing, actually it's on one of my DVDs that I've actually discovered works really well. It's something I put together years ago. It's a lateral type of breathing technique and different exercises for people that have unusual spinal conditions. And I have a CD that's out that works a lot. People have told me, because it's something that I've worked in collaboration with. I don't want to go into too much details, but I call them my star family.
Right on.
These beings that have come through me, it actually started happening when I started swimming with especially the whales in the ocean years ago. And it's a really powerful CD. It can be actually seen and experienced on YouTube under the heading of Sonia Sound Harmonics. Again, It's that word Sonia, which is my Pleiadian name. It's Soneya and then the word Sound Harmonics. And so I'm hoping at the end of the show to give you a sampling of the sounding and the toning that I do on that CD. It's very great for meditation, relaxation, and healing the nervous system.
It sounds wonderful, Sonia.
Yeah, just wanted to get that out.
Yes. I look forward to our sample of that as well. That sounds great.
Yeah.
You got me curious now because my book was written with the help of star beings, and I can't help but be curious as to you said your connection with them started when you were swimming with the whales. What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, a big part of my life has been in the water, and I've lived in the water.
Right.
I feel like actually I'm half mermaid or something. It's kind of funny, but I used to just spend hours in the water with dolphins, initially with their sonar and sort of a telepathic thing. After a while, that happens when you're in the water with them all the time. But when I started having experiences with the whales, and there was a time where I traveled all over the world when I had used some of my savings up to just be in different parts of the world to be with whales and dolphins. It was like an obsession. So the whole thing with the whales was like it was almost, I don't want to say a step up from the dolphins because they're very big, high, intelligent beings, but there was something that came through with the whales that got triggered, or like a door that opened up, almost like a vortex. When I had what I call eye-to-eye connectedness with a few particular whales. I'm in my kayak and they're next to me, or I'm out in the water swimming and they're underneath me. And they have this amazing sonar. You know about their sonar, right? Yes. And that's why I sign all those petitions with the Navy and some of these wonderful people that want to do things with sonar. All of a sudden, whales and dolphins are dead because it completely blocks their sonar. It's horrible. So when I had this initiation, in particular, years ago, it was with a mom and a baby whale. I was in my kayak, and this is when I was living on Maui before I moved to this island, which we call the Big Island. Mm-hmm. And I actually had this mom bring her baby up to me, and she was actually a distance away, and we started having this telepathic communication, and I had heard about this from other people that had it, and I thought, wow, I can have it with whales and dolphins, because you can feel it, like images or feelings. And I said, God, I'd be so grateful if you'd come a little bit closer. And all of a sudden, I looked down, and she's like right next to my kayak, showing off her baby. I'm going, what? There's something going on here. And from that, and then we had this amazing time because I was out ahead of everybody, and I hung out with this mom and baby, and I almost somehow ended up in the drink in the ocean, and then that would have been complicated. But that was where it all started, Bernard. And then every so often, when this would happen, though, I would get what we call a download. You know what I mean? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So the last really big download that I had was about 3 years ago when I was on this island, not too far from the city of Refuge. I used to, and I still do from time to time, lead different retreats over here, spiritual and health and wellness retreats. Mm-hmm. And so I was out there in the water near the Refuge, which is one of the places we used to go. And I was... we used to do a lot of singing and toning in the water because that brings in the whales and the dolphins when you sing or when you play an instrument, right? Oh. So there was a bunch of us sitting. Somebody was playing a didgeridoo out there on the beach. We were sitting and we were meditating and singing and chanting, which is always a good thing to do anyhow. But when the whale season is happening, which is 3 or 4 months every year on this island, boy, do they love that. And so we noticed after we did it, there was 2 or 3 whales that were hanging out. So I was with a couple of people initially, and when this happened, we all swam out about a half a mile. We joined our arms together, and we started toning and singing and hoping that this whale would come to us. This is a different encounter a few years later. And I really opened my heart, put it out there, and next thing we knew, we were seeing one coming in closer. Well, it's kind of an overwhelming experience to be in the water with a creature that big. Yeah. These are humpbacks. They're huge, right?
Yeah.
And I had been with them where they're swimming around, and I'm in my kayak, or I'm out there and they're below my feet. But this one purposely, intentionally came to us because we were asking, I believe it was a male. And next thing we knew, we were looking down below our feet, excuse me, and there was this big, beautiful humpback, and they have an eye on either side of their head. They're kind of spread out. So he had rotated and rolled, and he was literally below our toes, and we had this eye-to-eye thing going on. I stayed for a while. They stayed not quite as long, and I had this thing kind of all to myself where this whale was acknowledging me, and I was acknowledging him, and basically it was just this amazing wave of love. I see you. I accept you. I honor who you are. You are a divine being. You know, we are connected, you know.
Mm.
And I started crying in my I was almost choking because I was crying. The love and the heart connection, Bernard, was unbelievable. The opening and the awakening and all this download stuff started happening. And after that, my telepathic thing with whales and dolphins seemed to expand, and that's when I started getting brave, because I've been a singer for years, but I started getting really brave about working with my voice in terms of soundings and tonings. And I started doing it with people that have cancer, that have different kinds of physical ailments, and I had some really wild stuff start happening. That's kind of the short version, but I mean, I started using the toning for working with people that were having other, you know, major health issues. I mean, I can just tell you quickly, some of those testimonials are on my website. I worked with a woman that had a cancerous tumor, and they did a before and after CAT scan when I was working with her, and it actually showed that the tumor had shrunk. And so I started taking this. I mean, I just feel that I hold the energy and I allow this presence to come through. It's my higher self and these star beings I worked with. But I've had people call me that have been in pain from everything from hiatal hernias to gallbladder pain, back pain, or different things that were going on in their body emotionally and psychologically. And I use the sound healing on the phone with clients, and I've also done it when I've been on tour as a speaker and lecture circuit with a few hundred people. It's been amazing. And I go into an altered state, and so does the audience. And sometimes I come back, I have to figure out where I am again. So that's, That's
beautiful, Sonia. That's absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I was literally seeing what you were just saying. I could see the whale. I could feel the love that you were getting. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a personal story, but I mean, it led to me taking my sound healing and my voice and what I call Sonia's sound harmonics or sound harmonic healing. It took me to the next level. Thus, I have that amazing YouTube and CD online that was put together by a friend of mine who's a producer-director. And I've actually had people go on there just to get the feeling of it and go through healing, and then they end up buying the CD because it's transformational. It puts you into a really deep place. Yeah.
Well, I feel that, of course, you know, the powers that be and or, you know, what we call the system or pop culture, whatever, we don't give sound enough credit. I mean, sound is amazing. It could melt metal if it was done correctly. You know, I feel that sound could give us so much more in helping us develop who we are and to heal our bodies in so many different ways. If it was brought more to the forefront. So I appreciate that you have done the effort and done the work to bring it out and make it more public. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And you can see more about that with people who've experienced it under the testimonial heading on my website. It's really wonderful.
Great.
People have gone through,
Well, Sonia, you asked me to remind you about the radiation baths. So I guess this is the time I'm going to remind you wanted to talk about radiation baths.
Yeah, I guess we're shifting gears a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, and I would love to share that sound at least for 5 minutes at the end.
I would love that, yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So this is information that I've gathered. Some of it is been from my mentors. Some of it is from experimenting with essential oils myself and stuff like that. So it's sort of a compilation. So, and there's a couple of things that I've added to it. So, since this Fukushima thing that's happened, and actually it's much worse than people think out there. It's, especially on the West Coast and the Northwest, and how it's affecting the Alaskan Indians up there, the Inuits, and what it's actually doing to our seafood and our fish. And I can't even begin to, tell you how intense it is for what's going on in the sea life in the ocean. It makes me cry, really. But anyways, it's painful to see what it's doing, Bernard, and it's really played down quite a bit. Anyways, so if people want to, I've done this for environmental pollution, chemtrails, also for the Fukushima stuff, and just in general to open up the pores in the body, is I get, you know what a loofah is, or a dry brush?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a certain way that you use the dry brush, which is kind of hard to explain right now, but, whatever you can do to just, do dry brushing on the body, kind of a circular motion. You could probably look it up online, and always good to go, where the lymphatic area is, under the armpits, and the organs, the liver, the major organs in the body, and don't forget the kidneys, right? So opening up the pores, and this helps with lymphatic movement as well, right? And so after you do that, then you make a hot bath, and I've done it different ways. Sometimes I make it, make the bath really high, and other times just halfway filled. But everybody knows about baking soda, I'm sure. You've heard about the baking soda, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what huh?
I said, yes, actually, that was my alkaline therapy I was doing.
Okay, so, and then adding sea salt. Now, I like real sea salt, like Celtic salt, or some kind of salt that has, or either mix that with bentonite clay. So sea salt and some clay, some baking soda. Some people even put ginger in there, and then it gets really intense. I won't get too detailed, but in terms of your genital area, you have to be a little careful. It can get, not to get too graphic. Anyway, so, be careful on the ginger, but the ginger makes your body heat up and detox in a different way. So I don't use the ginger all the time. I would say most of the time it's the sea salt, the baking soda, and sometimes the clay. Mm-hmm. And then there's something that I added on my own that was my own discovery of doing research with different essential oils, is I'll sometimes put a little bit of rosemary oil in there because of what it does for the nervous system. Amazing stuff. You don't want to overdo it, but rosemary and or geranium, maybe not both of them at the same time. And I'll tell you, you soak in that until the water becomes, cooler, the lukewarm, and then once you get out, you can take, like a lukewarm or cold shower to close your pores, right? And you will be blown away at how you feel.
Really? Wow.
Oh my God. You'll be blown. Like whenever I fly on, when I used to spend a lot more time flying and traveling, I would just sort of do it because I felt better. And then I started doing it more since all the Fukushima radiation. We have a lot more in the ionosphere, in the upper atmosphere, because some of those radioactive isotopes now, they find some of them are, drop to the ground, and some of them are more up airborne. And for people that fly a lot, we're getting a lot more radiation, not only from Fukushima, but from the sun more than we used to. Yeah. So when you get off the plane and you do a bath, even if you just carry a little baking soda and sea salt with you and nothing else, and maybe a loofah or whatever, and you do that after a plane trip, it's life-changing. It's absolutely amazing. And then, a cooler cold shower at the end makes a big difference. Huge. Yeah, it's incredible.
Now, sorry, just remind me, what kind of clay were you talking about?
Well, there are different kinds of clay, Bernard. I mean, everybody knows just about the regular bentonite clay.
Okay. So,
I don't know about all the different kinds of clays out there, but that clay has a drawing kind of pulling power. So when you're in it, or so even, people do a fast and they take it internally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it pulls out toxins, just sort of like the chlorella does. So if you put it in a bath and your pores are open and you have sea salt and you have baking soda, you can imagine, and the water is warm, you can imagine that it's pulling toxins out of your skin, especially because you've done what? The dry brushing, right?
Yeah.
So your pores are more open now. That was my addition to all of this. Nobody else has done this. It was my idea about the dry brushing and putting that in, and also the rosemary and ginger. I may have figured that out between me and somebody else. It's like there's different recipes, right?
Right.
But me, I was the one that started promoting the dry brushing or skin brushing because it made sense to do that in a tub of water with herbs. I mean, because you got to understand that with dry brushing, it's moving lymph, it's opening up all those skin cells, the pores in the skin to receive all of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much so. Absolutely. Now, the reason why I asked you about the clay especially is because I'm very lucky. We have a lot of clay where I live, but it's the red, it's copper, a lot of copper, and I wasn't sure whether copper was a good thing or a bad thing to have in that.
Now, where do you live in Virginia?
I live in Roanoke, Virginia. I'm in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and we have
God,
we have a lot of beautiful red copper clay here.
I would think that would be incredible because I know of a couple of, when I used to live in northern New Mexico, there's red clay over there as well. So I would think that the red clay would be amazing because no matter what kind of clay it is, Bernard, all of it has drawing powers, unless it's something that I don't know about. I mean, you could do some research unless you think there's something else in the clay that might not be so benevolent or that's toxic,
As long as I'm not by the nuclear reactor, I'm okay.
Yeah. You don't really want anything from the ground that's, exactly.
I think about 100 miles away from here is one of the nuclear weapons army places where they make nuclear weapons or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Radford University, or near Radford University, that's where a lot of the Army military-grade nuclear weapons were created. And there's been a lot of lawsuits and whatnot for them dumping stuff in the water, and it's ridiculous. Yeah,
because that's where cancer, I mean, not to get off on a whole other subject, but people I know, trying to remember where Hannaford is that?
It's called Radford. In Virginia it's called Radford. It's probably about 50 miles from Roanoke, between it's Christiansburg, I believe. Christiansburg or one of those burgs,
Yeah, well, anyways, I know of friends, I think it was more in Washington State, and I can't remember the name of that little, but anyhow, I know that there are places on the East Coast and West Coast and up in the Northwest. Well, he actually had told me that there were people and friends of his that obviously grew up near there, that all of them came down with, I don't know if it was a certain type of cancer. I can't remember if it was thyroid or stomach. But, I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer. If you're in an area where it's going into the water table, I mean, it's, you're going to be taking it in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what's going to happen over years' time is there's a good possibility you could come down with cancer. So I know we have to take precautions, or maybe we shouldn't live near those places.
and you made a very good point, because unfortunately, I don't believe that people have the awareness to do that. Like, am I living next to a plutonium or uranium factory? I didn't even know, quite honestly, living here in Virginia, I didn't know that uranium mining was one of the things that they did here. But thank goodness they've banned uranium mining now. But I wouldn't have known that, moving here. It's like, we do uranium mining and it's going in the river,
Yeah, well, you don't want to be taking it into your, drinking it or ingesting it or bathing in it or swimming in a river that's loaded with it. But there are people over the years that come down with strange kinds of diseases or cancers because of those kinds of things,
yep.
And not knowing. And it's unfortunate. It's it's sad and
it's frustrating.
Upsetting.
It's absolutely frustrating. Yeah. I mean, I see it. One of the reasons why I moved here, I came from South Florida and I lived there most of my life. But the reason why I left South Florida was because of the BP oil spill. And
wow.
We were swimming in. I remember the summer before I left South Florida. I was like, well, I'm going to go to the beach as much as I can before the oil shows up. And literally the last day we were swimming in the ocean, my friend's son was wearing a white T-shirt, and when he got out, there were black spots all over it. And I think within a few days, he had some kind of rash or something. And
my God!
And that's from the Brexit breaking up the oil. And that week, my garden was eaten up by the rain. The rain literally ate up all the leaves of my tomato plants, and just everything was eaten alive by the rain. I said, "That's it. I'm moving to Virginia."
Oh my God, that's horrible.
That was what, 2010, I believe that was, the BP oil spill? Yeah, I think that was 2010.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this is happening all over the world, and so I'm so grateful that we have someone like you that will help us, to deal with these environmental factors, because it's not, it's not just radiation. There's a lot of unfortunate things happening within our environment, including chemtrails, of course. I think we're going to go on a break in a minute. I'm assuming we're going to start in just a few seconds, but with that being said, real quick, and we can jump into this when we get back from the break, Sonia, you brought up, and it seems like a lot of people that I speak to in Hawaii bring up the chemtrails. Is Hawaii really getting inundated that badly?
Well, it did. I only started really noticing it in the last few years, and you know what's behind the chemtrails, right? I mean, everybody knows what's really behind that, right?
Well, there's several theories. We have geoengineering, we have solar, radiation, or trying to help the greenhouse, and then of course we have the slow kill conspiracy.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Depopulation and affecting plants, animals, and humans. I would say that the northern islands have it much worse because there's more people, and I think they tend to target more highly densely populated communities and cities. There's one island that has been really doing a lot of political stuff, and they may actually make some moves because between the GMO thing with Monsanto and the chemtrail thing, they're getting extremely assertive. That's all I can say, which is Maui.
Yes, they are. I've seen that.
The people in the Hawaiian Islands are taking some of this to the world court. And if we're going to do something to help ourselves, especially, I'm not saying that this doesn't happen anywhere besides the U.S., but, and I don't know that it's just the U.S. that's underneath this. I think it's probably the corporations. But people need to really get more active, speaking out and doing something in order to, whether it's petitions or what, because all these, chemtrails and everything else are putting people in dire straits in the hospital, and over time it wears down your immune system and your gut. It affects your whole gastrointestinal area. It affects our food chain. It's amazing how much this is affecting people. It's really scary, actually. Absolutely.
And maybe we're not going to have a break at the bottom of the hour. We'll see in just a moment. But I want to throw in there. One of my theories, and until I'm there and I'm listening and I know what they're doing with these chemtrails, I can't really align with any particular answer. But one of the things that I was thinking. Oh, wait, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what I was thinking. We'll be right back.
Okay.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
Hey, and welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We are having a great conversation today with Sonja Kalckar. And before the break, we were talking about chemtrails, and putting out possible theories of what is going on, and I wanted to share this with Sonia and with everybody that's listening. I know a lot of us do believe that they are trying to depopulate the planet, and they have this strange idea that less population would be easier to control. But I hate to say it, I think it's actually worse than that. I think it would be easier. It would be easier if we were all killed. I think they want to control nature, literally. I feel that perhaps the chemtrails are to change the soil and change the air, so we have to have genetically modified plants and whatnot. I feel motivation in most of these cases is profit, and okay, well, your trees are dying. Well, here we have we can do genetically modified forests for you, and they are now doing genetically modified forests, unfortunately, and so I think that perhaps either way, it's not good. The bottom line, it's not good for us. But Sonia, I'm wondering in Hawaii, because I know there's such a movement against, and there seems to be a connection between the activist movement to end chemtrails and to end GMO. Has anyone ever talked about the connection between the two?
Yeah, they're separate, but I guess they are connected. I never really thought about it that way. All I can say is if you look at the type of chemicals, some of the, I forget, I want to say, what would the word be, a botanist or agricultural scientist type person, what they're seeing in the soil and what it's doing to trees, plants, and organisms, like literally obliterating them, killing them.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some of the stuff that's coming out of them, those planes, boron, mercury, I can't remember all the different...
Barium, aluminum.
Barium. What's the other one?
Aluminum.
Aluminum. Okay. Barium, aluminum, boron. I mean, does that look like something that's user-friendly that you'd want to eat?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So then, yeah, I guess the GMO is more, something that's particularly designed like GMO corn or wheat or whatever. But, now that I think about it, it seems like they would go hand in hand. And sometimes I get the feeling that all the stuff they're doing is trying to prepare them for another race of people to come in and get rid of the humans,
that's what I was thinking. Maybe it's to get rid of the weak or something. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think it's just getting rid of the weak. I mean, yes, it obviously people that are even somebody that's really healthy and strong is not going to do really well with aluminum, barium, and boron. But I mean, basically, I feel like it's what's behind all this. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like it would point to large corporations and possibly an ET race that's behind large corporations.
Very much
basically
so.
Trying to weaken the people, just like they use fluoride in the water to make people more docile, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're weakened by the chemicals and chemtrail, of course you're going to be more docile as well.
Right, and you're going to be more susceptible to, guess what, gut problems and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Immune system, it affects all of that. Yeah.
And that's why we're very grateful to have people like yourself trying to bring the balance back into our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. I feel that that's our number one, well, I don't want to say attack, but our number one defense in all of this is to really raise the quality of our beingness, and I firmly believe that the higher we vibrate, the healthier we are, the more aligned we are with our divinity, that we will survive all this, and if not only survive it, but have the ability to change the present timeline.
Well, I want to share something with you very interesting and exciting, if I can, because I'm not sure how much time we have here, but I still want to do this. Okay. In the last few years, or up until a couple of years ago, because like you, I'm an intuitive, I'm a spiritual person, I was looking at everything that's going on the planet, still looking at all the stuff, the Middle East and, Korea and, everything that goes on here with just governments and power struggles and, what goes on with all these beautiful species that are becoming extinct, birds and, I was just pretty depressed, I can tell you.
Yeah.
And, however, in the last few years, there's been something interesting that's happened, I don't know, maybe in the last 2 to 3 years. And I feel this is information that I have gotten on the inner and also had confirmed from other, what I would call intuitives, spiritual teachers, medicine people, highly developed people that are attuned, is that I do believe that there is and has been, and even more now pronounced, I used to call it the Galactic Federation. Some people call it the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds, that they are really becoming more and more present, and that it's very clear to me that the governments and the people here running the world in these countries are like little baby brats, Mm-hmm. I feel that they are going to step in and already have an influence, because the way I look at it, they are ancient ancestors. They're bad extraterrestrials, but there's also ones that are highly loving, compassionate, and wise, and here for the betterment of humanity, and also to save the planet Earth. Earth is a very special place, and I feel that they have put into motion some different, they're calling it the new ray, and I want to share a little bit about what I've been experiencing with this new ray.
Please.
Okay, because it's the one thing that's given me hope as I see all these things being destroyed and demolished, and, like I said, just horrendous stuff that goes on all the time, everywhere. It comes in if you wanted to paint a visual picture, about a 15-foot pyramid. I'm just going to put this out as part of beginning of the sort of a meditation.
Okay.
A golden 15-foot pyramid with white and gold liquid light coming from the top of the pyramid and all four sides. It's almost like something that has come here from another dimension, connected to this higher race of star beings. And there is, they call it the new ray, but there's a particular sound that is emanating and that I want to share as we go into this, maybe spiritual part of the show.
Please do.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Because it's very uplifting. It's very not only uplifting, but it takes you to a place that is a higher dimension. I want to call it the soul plane, the song of God, they call it. Prime creator, they're different names. And the sound vibration, it's hue, like H, hue. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that know about the Ekankar. They happen to also use the sound.
They do.
But a lot of people don't know, Bernard, is this is actually an ancient universal sound. It's Sanskrit, from India.
Mm.
And because I do work with mantras and different sounds, and Sanskrits and chants. And this literally means soul plane, or God plane, or song of God.
Yeah.
So when I had been involved years ago with the Ekis and stuff, we used to use this and chant it together by ourselves. And when it's done, where everybody's doing it together, it makes it a bit stronger. But you literally can feel your physical body, the 3D body, and fourth and fifth dimensional bodies and beyond. You can just literally feel them raising up, almost like you're levitating. You feel a sense of expansion, a sense of wellness, a sense of godliness, connectedness with Prime Creator God, and all the spiritual teachers. And not too long ago, I used this for a friend who was needing a clearing and who was really going through some really bumpy times. And we used it, and Yogananda came in, Christ came in, and Amaji, all these entourage of amazing, powerful, spiritual, male and female teachers, some of them who are alive and some of them aren't, Sai Baba, but just quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And we were both just sort of sitting there with our mouth open. This sound is universally connected to, it's acknowledged by all teachers. And so at some point here in the near future, I'd like to share it and vocalize it, and then also take it into the toning that I do in order to set the tone for this, wonderful connection that I have with you today and sharing my work on the show.
Please
because
do.
Because this is something that everybody can use every day.
Absolutely.
On a daily basis.
Absolutely. Sonia, we have about 10 minutes, so by all means, I hand it over to you. You guide us and take us through this experience.
Okay. Thank you, Bernard. So with your blessing and permission, I'm going to do that. So if everyone is open to sitting in just a comfortable, laying down or sitting comfortably in your chair or whatever you're doing, I will begin. And so again, we're going to visualize a beautiful 15-foot golden pyramid in front of you, and it can be floating if you wish, or suspended. And emanating from this pyramid is this gold and white light coming from the top like a fountain through the pyramid and through each of the bottom sides of the pyramid. And then within the pyramid, there is a presence of a very high being named Satnam, who through his hands is also emanating this beautiful liquid light as well. So just visualize that now for a moment, if you would. And now we're going to go into the sound frequency, and I'm just going to be doing it over my phone here onto, through the sound system. And you're welcome to join me, or you're welcome to just listen. So the sound is you, and I'm just going to begin that, and then I'm going to go into my sound harmonics with the hue and some other sounds and tones. Again, feel free to open your crown, your heart, your solar plexus area, the power center, the dantian, and allow yourself to receive this vibration and this new ray. Allow yourselves to again just receive these frequencies in this new ray for the next few seconds here. Receiving the healing in whatever areas of the body or being or psyche needs to be touched, embraced and held, healed, loved, compassionately, loving thyself, honoring thyself, embracing myself, and allowing this ray again to permeate and saturate all levels of the mind, body, spirit, healing, past lives, or anything that is in any way disruptive or blocking you from moving forward in your divine light and divinity and your divine remembrance. And thank you for allowing me to facilitate bringing in this new ray and this new energy. Feel free to use this whenever it comes to you or you feel to use the hue, H-U, again visualizing the new vibration, the new frequency, and the liquid light coming from the pyramids, that I believe we are finally on the right track and the right path, that we are finally being guided and held in a loving space by beings who are supporting our journey to the next level. Thank you so much, Bernard.
Beautiful. Thank you.
How was that for you? Okay.
Oh, beautiful. I love the hue. Actually, I'm a big fan of the hue.
Right.
I've been blessed enough to be in a room with 30 other people, or maybe 20 other people doing the hue, and it's just such an amazing experience.
Right. But now it's different now because it literally is connected not just to it's much beyond just the echoes. It's a new ray, a new frequency, and a new light and vibration that is coming in. Seriously, it's amazing.
You know,
and it's getting stronger.
I've had this I don't know when this new ray energy came through to you, but about a year ago, I did have a download, and it was like basically the download was the work now is not to align the crown so much, but to connect to the golden ray. And suddenly all of my work changed. It went from using violet flame, purple flames, to golden cords, golden rays. And basically the color was gold. I was told, use the color gold.
Yeah.
And, it's been that way for about a year now, and I'm loving that you're confirming this for me. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What is in your experience, what is different about this golden ray versus so many of us use the violet colors or the indigo colors, and we talk about the indigo children coming and they being here. I consider myself an adult indigo actually. But now that we're working with different vibration, what is so different about the golden color or the golden vibration for you personally?
Yeah, well, for me, it's not just so much about the fact that it is this golden pyramid. It's more about the sound frequency.
Yes. Okay.
And it does carry this sort of gold white. It is more gold than white. It's more about the sound frequency, the timing, and the fact that basically this planet and the Earth people here, because we are, whether most people know it or not, we are at critical mass, and I do believe were it not for this ray that has come in actually even stronger in the last year, so you're really perceptive. It's been here for a couple of years, but it's getting stronger every day. There's a race of beings called the Seres, S-E-R-E-S, I believe, and they are also connected to this Galactic Federation or Alliance, which is quite a few star families that are literally here to assist us and birth the new Earth, or send, the new Earth is ascending into a new place, and basically to save the planet, humanity, and the species that are left. So this is, for me, my experience is this ray is, like I said, this is my experience, which emanates this gold light, is taking us not only to a new level and experience in our awareness of who we are as sort of galactic beings, but we don't have to go through what the Earth and many of the, in history, many of the different civilizations have gone through.
Right.
Amazing civilization, then it's destroyed and gone and everybody's killed off. We do not need to do that again ever because of what's going on. And it just gives me, as they say, chicken skin, because never in the history of planet Earth has this happened like this. We are the focus in the universe now. We really are.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Sonia, I love it. Thank you so much. We are completely out of time. This has gone by so quickly, and I thank you so much for being here. Everybody, Sonja Kalckar can be found at soneya.net, SONEYA.net. Please look her up. And I thank you so much for being here. Well, I enjoyed you so much. Thank you so much, Sonia.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me, Bernard.
It was
and thank
a pleasure.
you for listening. And aloha.
Aloha.
Much aloha.